You're midway through a group writing task when, bam, one child has launched into a totally unrelated story about their dog eating a sock. Another is standing rather than sitting, and someone's just shouted, finished, after writing 3 words. They all have ADHD, or do they? In this video, you'll learn what ADHD really is and what it definitely isn't. We'll clear up some common myths so you can support children with confidence, not confusion. So 1, ADHD is not bad behaviour. It's a brain-based difference. It's about how the brain manages attention, impulse control and regulation. That doesn't mean children with ADHD choose to be disruptive or distracted. Their brains simply work differently. What this means for you is that your support should be exactly that. It should be support, not punishment. That is key. 2, ADHD is more than being hyper. Some children are fidgety and loud, yes, but others are daydreamy and quiet. ADHD comes in different types. So you've got hyperactive, impulsive, inattentive, and combined. So what this means for you, look beyond the stereotype. The quiet child who seems spaced out might be just as overwhelmed as the one doing laps of the classroom. 3, ADHD isn't laziness. Motivation and focus can fluctuate wildly, especially for tasks that aren't stimulating or immediately rewarding, like silent reading, for instance. Children with ADHD may want to do well, but struggle to start their work. And if they do start, they struggle to get finished. And what this means for you, help break tasks into chunks and give encouragement that's specific and frequent. 4, ADHD doesn't look the same every day. Tired, hungry, overstimulated, you might see totally different behaviours from the same child depending on their environment or mood. What this means for you, stay flexible, adjust your expectations day by day. Now, I worked with a child with ADHD, and something else that made a difference was because he was diagnosed and he was on medication. And the thing that made the difference to him, often in the mornings, was at what point in the morning before he'd come to school that he'd taken his medication. Sometimes he'd taken it earlier, which could mean that it was, he was just at the right point when he arrived at school and was able to concentrate. Sometimes he'd taken it later, which meant that he wasn't. He was still sort of, because he tended to be quite hyper. So medication and it being given at the same time every day can make a difference. And whether it's not, obviously some mornings are more difficult than others. Sometimes he'd refuse to take it and he'd come to school and he hadn't taken it at all. So that can make a difference as well. 5, a diagnosis is helpful but not essential for support. Children who show ADHD traits but don't have a diagnosis yet or ever, that's an issue that exists. And it doesn't mean they don't need understanding and appropriate support and scaffolding. So what this means for you is that if you spot the signs, start using the strategies, because it helps everyone. There doesn't need to be a diagnosis. If a child is behaving in a certain way, try the strategies. That stands for everything that I talk about. And your mindset tip. So here's how to shift your perspective if you're finding this tricky. Children with ADHD aren't giving you a hard time. They're having a hard time. The reason they're having a hard time is because, again, our school systems are not set up for them. So they're having to try and fit into a system that doesn't work for them often. You know, if you put them in an environment where they could be doing more than sitting and listening, I think you'd see a whole different side to them. They're doers. They're up, they're about, they're getting stuff done. And in school, there's so much time where children are spent sitting. So it's a tricky one. So don't see it as them giving you a hard time, although it will feel it at times. I know because I've been there. They're having a hard time. Now, here's your action that you can take. So, if you choose one child you think may have ADHD traits, diagnosed or not, watch them with curiosity, not judgment. Jot down one thing that seems to help them stay focused and one thing that clearly doesn't, because that's your starting point for smarter support. It's, I think, I think we learn in school that there's a set blueprint for everything, and really there isn't. Learning, you can have a basic background of information, but then learning is about experimentation, really. It's about trying things out and finding out what works for a particular child, because what works today for a particular child might not work for the same child tomorrow, and it certainly might not work for another child. So all we can do is try things out and see what works at the time. There's no one size fits all answer with ADHD, which is basically what I've just said, but you don't need to have all the answers. Your patience, observation, and willingness to adapt already make a huge difference. Now, in video 2, we will look at helping with focus without nagging. See you there.